Hello, hello everybody, and welcome to day 2 of our International Students' Day celebrations. I'm delighted if you joined us yesterday and you've joined us again today. I just want to share with you, while we're on the chat there, we've got people joining us for all over the world today. This is really fantastic. I wrote a few down like Albania, Ghana, Oman, Nepal, Trinidad and Tobago, Mozambique, Lesotho, Vietnam, Philippines. Welcome and thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. So very much like in the theme we did yesterday, for those who joined us, I'm going to run through some slides with you this afternoon, and then we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. The Q&A box is open. Please use the Q&A box to ask any questions. We have a team behind the scenes who are all there rating, ready to answer your questions. And they're from our assessment operations team, our learning resources team. So please send your questions in. We want to make this session as interactive as possible. So the more questions you send us, the more interactive we can be with you. So I'm going to start my slides in just a second. Just like so, we've got 135 participants on at the moment, so there's lots of you joining us, so thanks very much for that. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen with you now, and we'll start with the presentation. Okay, so as I've mentioned, for those of you who joined us yesterday, welcome back. We're going to do a 10 to 15 minute short presentation, and then I'll leave plenty of time at the end for Q&A, when I'll also introduce my colleague, Kirsty Parkinson, our rewarding manager, who's going to answer some of your questions today. Okay, so let's get started. So just a very quick reminder, don't forget to visit the dedicated webpage celebrating our international students community. It's packed, it's full of information that will help you get started on your learning journey. And it's got lots of stories in there from other members who've shared their experience through either podcasts or case studies. In addition, until the 31st of December, anyone who's not a currently a CIPS member and wants to join, or anybody whose membership may have lapsed and wants to rejoin, there is a special offer that could save you up to £50. And if you want to take advantage of that, join or rejoin before the 31st of December. And that is an online only offer. But you can find the code information that you need all on that dedicated web page, and there'll be a link through to that at the end of the slideshow. Okay, so let's start with the information, first of all, about CIPS qualifications. So as you begin a programme of study for CIPS qualifications, you'll want to know where to go to find useful resources that will help you to study for the exams. Firstly, familiarise yourself with the syllabus and the learning outcomes and the assessment criteria. It's the syllabus that explains the knowledge that you'll need to know and how you will be assessed to pass each module and achieve the qualifications. Now you can find the syllabus on our website. If you go to the Learn tab, select the qualification that you want to study, and then you scroll down on the left tab bar there, you'll see the syllabus, and you can either view the syllabus online or you can download a PDF. All of these are freely available for you to download, as I say, or view online. Okay, so the syllabus for each qualification explains what you will study, which are core, and in some of the qualifications, which are the elective modules. So for each module, you can identify how many hours of learning time CIPS recommends based on the number of credits per module. So I did touch on this yesterday, and we did get a couple of questions in the Q&A on the chat, so I'm just hopefully going to clear that up for you now. So by knowing the number of credits, you can start to work out how much time per week you need to dedicate to studying based on the number of credits per module. So for example, here we've got the level 5 diploma in procurement and supply, and that has a value of 60 credits. 1 credit equals 10 hours of study time. So Kirsty has produced some new webinar recordings, which you can find access to via the dedicated web page that I just mentioned. Each provides you with much more details about how you can split your hours of study time down, and so that you make sure that you cover the full syllabus for each qualification in your learning time. Okay. So inside each syllabus, this is what you'll find. You'll find learning outcomes. This gives you the overarching theme of the content for the module. You'll also find the assessment criteria. This gives you a breakdown of the knowledge you should learn within that theme. So this is the information of what you need to know. The bullet points here, you'll see this is what we refer to as indicative content. Each module gives you further indication of the elements that you should learn within the theme. This isn't an exhaustive list, but it gives you that full rounded information of what you should learn. So the examiners use the syllabus to set the questions. Okay, so CIPS uses computer-based technology to assess students for exams. The Level 2 certificate and Level 3 advanced certificate are two of the entry-level qualifications, and they're ideal if you're just starting out in the profession or you do procurement and supply as part of your role and have no previous business-related experience or qualifications. I did touch on this yesterday, but for the benefit of those who couldn't attend the webinar yesterday, I'm just going to go through this again. If you're unsure about which qualification level to start at, read through the syllabus. And if it seems to be full of content that you know, then maybe you could consider starting at the level 4 diploma. The level 4 is the highest entry level for anybody starting on the CIPS qualifications journey. Okay, so the types of exam questions, for example, that you'd expect to find at these two levels of the qualification are known as OR, or objective response exams. And again, Kirsty goes through in much more detail in her videos about what that means. You can also download PDF guides of how to approach the different kind of questions on the website as well. Okay, so as you progress into the higher levels of the qualifications, the complexity of the questions will increase. This is to make sure that we're testing your deeper knowledge of the syllabus. So for example, in the diploma level qualifications, you can expect a mix of objective response and constructed response exams. There is a video explaining how to prepare for these types of questions too. Again, it's all available via the link on the dedicated webpage. Before you start to study at the level 4 diploma, which is the highest level of CIPS qualifications that you could enter at, and it's the ideal starting point if you're already in a procurement supply role. First, check the entry criteria. You must have at least 2 A levels or international equivalent to start studying at this level, or have at least 2 years experience in a procurement and supply role. Again, make sure this is the right starting point for you. Read through the syllabus. And if it seems to be full of content that you don't know, then maybe you should consider starting at the level 2 and 3 first. Okay, so remember, each type of question is assessing your knowledge of the syllabus. So it's essential that you keep going back and reading and referring back to the syllabus, looking at the learning outcomes, the assessment criteria, and the indicative content whilst you study. Okay, so there's lots of guides that have been prepared to help you as you prepare for your qualifications and you prepare for your exams. And these are all available in the student zone. And there's a link to that that I'll show you at the end. You can also watch videos that show CIPS computer-based exam platform. This is called Test Reach. This way you can familiarize yourself with what your exam will look like. These videos are just a few minutes long, so it's really worthwhile just having a look at them as you're embarking on your studies, just to have a really clear picture of how the exam will look on exam day, so you know what to expect. Okay, so I'm going to go into some more details now into what you'll find in the student zone. So this is all the CIPS created resources that have been there specially designed for you to help you prepare for your exams. So we've uploaded one set of sample questions and answers for every module. So these are very useful for some revision practice, and they will give you an idea of how the questions will be structured in the different exams you'll encounter. In addition, following the results from every exam series, CIPS also produces a markers report in the student zone, where you can see the assessor's comments and feedback about how students performed overall in answering the questions set against the exam series for the different learning outcomes. All of these resources are freely available in the student zone for you. You will need to have your membership up to date to access most of them though, so you will need to be a current member to be logged in. It's what we call gated content, and you need to log in to be able to access that. Okay, so CIPS also has an online bookshop, and you'll find study resources that you can buy for each module of the qualifications. Each module has a study guide with ebook versions as an option for those who prefer to have the book either on their phone or a PC or tablet. This will also give you an opportunity to reduce your postage costs. So there's a study guide, or you can get an ebook version. It's the same content, it's just one's hard copy and one's an ebook. We also produce e-learning. This will test your learning in the study guides. We don't recommend that you buy the e-learning in isolation, as they have been created to support your learning alongside the study guides. And it will help you to confirm the knowledge that you've gained from the study guides. So the guides, the ebooks and the e-learning are all separately priced in the online bookshop. And there you can check the prices for all of the different modules. Okay, we also have available now our first eRevision guide, and we are planning on producing more of these for each of the other qualifications, and we will let you know when these are ready. The eRevision guides contains questions and answers for each module of the diploma, and it's packed. It's all packed together in a nice handy ebook so that you can revise wherever, whenever you like. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more now about the community that you've got access to as well as you embark on your qualifications journey. So you can join one of our social groups. You could, for example, subscribe to CIPS YouTube channel, and you get alerts every time new content is added. So that could be videos of webinar recordings or podcasts. CIPS Twitter handle at CIPS News, so you can follow us on Twitter and follow our news there. And when you're searching for CIPS on Facebook and LinkedIn, look for the @CIPS official so that you know you're on an official CIPS group. There are lots of groups that are set up on Facebook particularly, and they've got the CIPS name, but they aren't actually managed by CIPS, and we don't have control over what they post. And quite often some of the information we see on these isn't quite correct. So what we will use the CIPS official channels for is always making sure that accurate information is posted. But also it's a huge networking tool opportunity for you. In the LinkedIn group alone, there are over 75,000 followers. And we will post in these groups, but then other people post in these as well. So you can you can mix with people who are qualified, other students. Don't be afraid to ask questions in these groups about topics that you're struggling with, or you need some support, you need some help. Most of these people have been a student, or they're studying, they're on the journey with you, and be more than happy to get involved in an online conversation with you and even give you some procurement and supply advice. So take a look at those, join some of the groups and get involved in the community. Okay, so to further help you to develop your wider knowledge on a broad range of subjects, CIPS Knowledge Team, which is made up of CIPS Fellows, MCIPS Chartered Professionals, have mapped CIPS knowledge to the relevant learning outcomes within each syllabus. So this saves you lots of searching times when you're trying to broaden and deepen your knowledge on a particular element of the syllabus. So most of this CIPS knowledge is going to be gated content, so you will need to have your current student membership to be able to access it. So here's a quick example. I'm sorry, it's a bit of a grainy image. It is just an internet image. So here, for example, you would go into the student zone, select the qualification level you're studying at, scroll down on the left bar, select CIPS knowledge, and then all of the modules appear there at the top. Select the module you're studying, and all of the linked resources are there for you. Okay, you can also join a CIPS event. Most of these are now online. We do encourage you to attend as many as you can, ask any questions. Most of them are live events, and you can also watch recorded versions of them on YouTube and in the YouTube channels, and put some comments in there as well. Supply Management Magazine, when you become a member, you'll start to also receive regionalised email bulletins of these. So Supply Management is our professional magazine. It's available online, and it includes latest jobs, latest news, opportunities, and current developments in procurement and supply. So you can really keep yourself up to date with the profession on a daily basis. You can sign up for daily new email alerts as well. So all of this support can be used to support you in your lifelong learning as well. So your CPD commitments, for example, it'll help you in your day-to-day role, and it'll certainly help you with staying up to date and staying fresh for your studies and responding to your exams. Okay, so hopefully I've given you a clear orientation there about the resources that CIPS has created to support you on your study journey. You can see the link there. It's sips.org. Go into the Learn tab, go into the Student Zone, select the qualification that you're studying, and you'll be able to access all of the learning resources to help you. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to introduce my colleague, Kirsty Parkinson, who's the awarding manager here at CIPS. Hi, Kirsty, how are you?
Hi, yes, I'm great, thank you.
Thanks
Great.
for joining us, Kirsty.
No, thank you.
So, Kirsty, would you just mind saying a little bit about what it is that you do at CIPS?
Yeah, certainly. Hello, everybody. It's a real privilege to be with you today, and very exciting to see our fantastic global reach and to have this opportunity to kind of connect with you. It's a rare opportunity for me. So thank you all for being here and for inviting me. So my role is to manage the assessments within CIPS. My primary aim is maintaining the integrity of our assessments. So that means we have to make sure everybody has a fair opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge and to, when they sit their exams and gain that recognition. As well as making sure everyone's got an equal opportunity, we make sure nobody is sort of disadvantaged, at the same time making sure no group of candidates is conversely advantaged. So it's trying to keep a fair playing field for everyone. That's my role, and I do that by working. There's a team of 5 of us who provide this function for CIPS, and we work with around 150 assessors, all of whom are MSIPs, many of whom are FSIPs. And have quite a long history with us providing assessment consultancy, be that in developing the actual assessments themselves or the marking function. So we have a team of really experienced and dedicated assessors that we work with.
Okay, that's great, Kirsty. Thank you. Thank you. So we've obviously got lots of questions coming through on the Q&A panel. I do have one that I'd just like to start with, though, because this is something that comes out a lot, really. How do the assessors kind of structure the questions? So I know you've got learning outcomes, we've got the assessment criteria. Can you just give us an example of how you'll structure an exam question, how the examiners do that?
Yeah, so it is an important thing for people to understand when we are working with our assessors. In order for the question to be a fair and valid question, it needs to be something that we have this sort of kind of approach of it. The question shouldn't be a surprise to candidates when you get there. Okay. So you'll know that this is a theme that you are already familiar with, and the content is something that you are familiar with. The way a student will be familiar with that is by looking at the syllabus. You talked about it earlier, but looking at the learning outcomes, the assessment criteria, and also taking into account that indicative content, so the bullet pointed list. So essentially, the assessors are doing the same. When they want to construct a question, they first of all look at the learning outcome, which is the overarching theme. So let's say, for example, it might be key aspects of organizational infrastructure. That's the learning outcome.
Yeah.
The next piece of work that they do is they will then look at the assessment criteria. So that's the heading that comes underneath the learning outcome. So if the learning outcome was key aspects of organizational infrastructure, the criteria might be explain key aspects of corporate governance, for example. So that's your theme, and that's your sort of category within it. Then the indicative content will give an idea of the sorts of things that we might be talking about. So with corporate governance, it might say things like standards, international standards for corporate governance. So so that's how our assessors approach the question, so that they know they are asking a question that won't be a surprise, at least to the majority of candidates. So it's really important when you're studying that you use the syllabus to make sure you've gained the knowledge that you need to.
Okay, okay, that's great. Thanks for that, Kirsty. We've got a really good question here on the chat, which is, I think, a really good benefit for everybody. So the question is, the pandemic has affected everyone and
Mm-hmm.
every business.
Mm.
Do you envisage the exam setup changing over the coming year? It's a good question, isn't it?
Okay, it is a good question, and not over the coming year. It's assessment is a it's not an easy ship to turn around. There's a lot of things that come into assessment, and as I say, all of us, the aim is to make sure it's fair and it's valid, which means there's a lot of different strands that coming into making sure that not only how you book onto the exam, where you take your exam, what the exam is, what the assessment method is, the questions that we use in an assessment have to go through a long, QA process before they ever arrive at the actual exam. So there's a long lead time for exams, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So yes, we do look at other methods for trying to give as many opportunities as we can for students. We know that it's a difficult situation for everybody in this current situation. So we are looking at ways that we can improve and make it more and more accessible. So that answer is yes, but within the next year, I would say no. It's
I
not
think
likely that we can change things sort of
yeah,
overnight.
yeah, and I think it would be fair to say that we are trialing
Yeah,
remote invigilation in some regions
yeah.
at this time.
Hmm.
It is very small numbers, and that is because of what Kirsty's just talked through there. There is a very stringent QA process that we have to go through as an awarding body to make sure that our examinations are fair. Across the world, because that is a question we've got here. It says, what does remote invigilation mean? Does a third
Mm,
party organization
mm,
proctor the exams? I mean, we don't want to go into too much detail about that at this stage,
hmm.
because it isn't something that's widely available and there isn't any immediate plans for that. But I suppose it won't harm just to give people an idea
Of
of
what
what.
that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a thing that is used within assessment, certainly in the UK, and I'm sure in other regions as well, that you would take your exam in a setup like I am now. So you could take your exam at home, provided you've got the necessary equipment. There is an invigilator at the other side of the screen, so it's real-time invigilation. So they would just to sort of quickly walk through the process, they do a scan of the room to make sure there's no potential for cheating, and if that they are watching the students take their exams, and if they get any kind of indication that there is any sort of malpractice going on, they will just stop the exam, and the students don't get the result. But assuming everything is good and there's no malpractice, then students can take their exam and get their results in the normal way.
Excellent. Thanks, Kirsty. I mean, it's really important just to emphasize that rigor, really. I know we've seen quite a few trails on some of our social media channels where people are concerned about the
Yeah.
rigor of
Yeah.
remote invigilation. So that's great. That really clarifies that.
Hmm.
We have got some questions coming up, and there's a bit of a theme going here around the sample question papers.
Hmm.
This one particular, I'll just pick out. It says, in the previous syllabus, we used to get previous exam papers, so past
Hmm.
papers.
Yeah.
Are these not going to be available for the new series?
No.
Can you
So
clarify that? Thanks, Kirsty.
yeah, we do have sample papers that are available on the website. I'm sure students would like us to provide a myriad of these sample papers. Unfortunately, it's cost prohibitive for us to do that. we wouldn't be able to provide a sort of never-ending source of sample questions. But there are other mechanisms. So there are sample questions that are there. If students are studying with one of SIP's learning partners or study centre, we have worked with those partners to get them to give them some training as to how to write their own questions. So we've told them, and if your centre isn't doing that, get them to get in contact with us, and we can send the video that we recorded to them as to how to create their own questions. Obviously, you mentioned earlier the SIPS e-learning and the SIPS study guide. So
Yeah.
it's a different arm to SIPS. It's not something that the exams areas look after, but certainly there are revision questions in there. So they're designed to test the learning within that study guide, which I think is something you were highlighting earlier, rather than that they're not sample papers. It's a different thing, but it's still a revision mechanism to help students to practice and make sure they've gained the knowledge and that they're ready to take the SIPS exams.
That's great, Kirsty. Thank you. And I think the key thing is as well with the sample papers, they're great to practice. It's great as a revision tool, but you know, the exam question bank is huge. It's got thousands of
Yes,
questions
it
in
is
it.
huge.
You're never going to answer them. You know, you're never going to be able to provide them all. And it's a
No.
random selection of questions, isn't it?
It is.
So
It
it's
is.
all about learning the knowledge, isn't it? It's about
It is. You
understanding the
can't,
syllabus and getting that
unfortunately,
knowledge.
you even if we did were able to provide a myriad of sample questions, you wouldn't be able to use that as part of your learning. It is part of your checking that you have learnt the content. It's the end step. It's not sort of something that will help you with your learning as you go.
Yeah. Okay. Got another good question here. This is about results.
Mhm.
And again, this is a question that does come up quite often
Mhm.
into our customer services teams and to on you know on news feeds. And it's around the turnaround time for results. Now, there's a lot of rigor goes into
Mm.
getting results, moderating, etc. I'm not going to steal your thunder there because you can explain it far better than me. But could you just kind of, I mean, the particular question is around the multiple choice exams, for
Right.
example, and
Yep.
couldn't this be automated is the question.
Yeah.
So would you just give us a bit more information about that, Kirsty?
Yes. So we again, it's under the umbrella of the integrity of our assessment, and particularly in the first year or two of launching a whole new qualification and a whole new syllabus, it's very difficult to do that and go straight to instant results. So what we do is we have a period of gathering evidence to be able to demonstrate that the assessments are fair and valid. So that's why we don't issue results straight away. There's a team of us that go into great lengths to analyse the results and make sure they are fair and valid, and make sure that the purpose of the assessment has been achieved through the assessment. That's what that integrity is all about. And I'm not sure if that will completely make sense to people, but as I say, you know, maybe in the future it will be something we will be able to get to once we've built that body of evidence to support the validity, which we're making good strides. It's the results have been very positive, and yeah, they're, as I say, the rigor in that QA process is, I think people would be impressed if I was able to spend another hour showing you it all.
Unfortunately, we haven't got that much time, Kirsty, but I'm sure it'd be really fascinating. Thank you. So we have actually only just got a minute left. So I'm going to have to really switch on to just advising everybody what to do now for today and just really talk about what's happening tomorrow. So thank you very much, Kirsty, for your time. There are some questions that we haven't quite managed to answer because
Okay.
there's so many. We've got quite a lot of questions in there. What I will let you know that what we are intending to do is gather all these gather all of these questions up at the end of the week, and next week when we start posting these videos onto the dedicated page, we're going to put some FAQs up there as well. So any of these questions that we haven't quite answered, look out for some FAQs there and we will try to cover them.
Yeah.
So Thank you very much, Kirsty.
Thank you.
And thank you very much to all of the team behind the scenes who've been busy answering your questions. Tomorrow, please do come back same time. And our theme tomorrow will be around owning your career development plan. So basically, we all have career goals. We all know where we want to get to, but what's your plan for getting there? What are the types of things you need to do? What are the types of things you need to think about? And how do you develop that plan? And we've got our expert speakers tomorrow and an interview. So do come along. Again, please ask lots of these questions and do pop along to the dedicated webpage to have a look at the information that we've set up there for you for the week. And don't forget, if you're not currently a student or you want to rejoin, now is a great time to do it, because we do have a special offer running until the end of December, which will reduce up to £50 in fees for you. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and see you tomorrow. Thank you.